talking right now, Thomas Markle Jr. has lashed out at his sister in the most brutal interview he has ever given.
Royal family, you should be so thankful this woman wanted to leave, because she's not going to bring any good to the branding of royal. She's going to downgrade it to a level of ghetto, and that's what it is. This is just bad.
Now, after this point, when you've had 7 years knowing my father's phone number, it hasn't changed for 15 years. It's the same phone number. You have not reached out. You have not texted. You have not called.
Someday Meghan's going to realize that she's obviously missing out on a really good, tight-knit family. I mean, we're all still together all the time, no matter what. And you can't put a price on that.
When it comes to the royal family, they should actually feel relieved this woman walked away. Let's be real, she wasn't going to boost their image. She was heading straight toward bringing down everything they built, dragging the whole legacy into territory nobody wanted to go. This isn't speculation, it's the hard truth. Strip away her father's influence and connections, and she's probably still slinging drinks as a waitress somewhere, going about life without all the spotlight and noise. The whole situation is messy, full of could-have-beens and what-ifs that don't add up. Sometimes you wish for a real face-to-face moment where you could actually talk things through. Clear the air, untangle what went wrong, maybe find some common ground. Deep down, she cares, she respected me, looked up to me in ways most wouldn't get. We shared something real, something solid, until it all collapsed and I got cut off completely. She always talked about becoming a dancer, chasing that dream that gets inside your bones. People know how close we actually were back then, how much time we spent together, how our worlds became one. I can't understand how someone just throws away all that history, all those moments, like they meant nothing.
In my opinion, she would still be a waitress if it wasn't for Dad.
People of this evil bullshit caliber do not have a place on this world.
I made one dumb mistake, and I'm never being forgiven for it. And this show that they're on, they talk about compassion. There's no compassion for me. There's no compassion for my family. And there's no compassion for the royal.
It's shocking and it hurts. August 4th marks 40 years. 4 decades of memories and chances that disappeared. When she came into this world through a C-section, everything shifted for me. The second she was placed in my arms, I was completely hooked. I was the first person holding her, and that tiny hand wrapped around my finger, it claimed something in me forever. That bond never broke, even with nearly 40 years of separation. But here's what matters. I didn't do this chasing money or clout. My goal was personal rebuild who I am, retell my own story. For a whole year, people painted me as hidden away somewhere remote and unbelievable. What's wild is the very same person preaching about kindness and compassion tells everyone not to believe the simple version. She keeps saying this isn't about cash, and she's right, because I never asked her for a single dollar. I don't want her wealth. I've said it openly because my intentions have always been straight. This man lived simple his whole life. No big demands, no expensive wishes. All he wants is a phone call, proof he's not forgotten. More than that, he wants to meet his 2 grandchildren before time runs out. We're talking basic connection here, not fortune or luxury. Just a moment to hold their hands and see their faces light up. Meanwhile, she's got everything money can get: private jets, mansions, endless cash waiting. She's got the resources to make it happen in an afternoon.
If you think about it, Meghan got everything she wanted. She got the husband, she got the children, she got the HRA, she got everything that allowed her to rise up and to have that global recognition that we know how badly she wanted that.
Funny thing about royal news, you can go weeks with barely a whisper about a certain estranged father-in-law, and then suddenly he's trending worldwide again, and somehow it's not even because of anything Meghan did. It's wild, honestly. This man doesn't have an Instagram, doesn't do red carpets, doesn't have a Netflix deal, and yet somehow he keeps out trending people who post daily. That's basically royal world magic at this point. And this week, the reason he's back in everyone's feed is a story being framed as a final confession, which, if headlines are to be believed, is apparently a phrase that gets recycled roughly every 18 months whenever a new outlet needs a fresh round of clicks. So, Welcome back to the Royal Truth Desk, the place where we take these headline of the week royal dramas and actually pull them apart before deciding whether they deserve the panic they're generating. We're not here to hand you a hit piece, and we're also not here to hand you a puff piece. We're here to lay out what's actually reported, what's still just floating around as claim and commentary, and let you land wherever you land. If that's your kind of channel, go ahead and smash subscribe right now, because this particular story has a lot of moving parts, and we're going to walk through every single one of them. Let's get into what's actually fueling this fresh round of chatter. Word has spread describing what's being labelled a final confession from Thomas Markle concerning his daughter, and almost the instant that framing hit the internet, it exploded. Commentary channels, entertainment outlets and social feeds all lit up practically at once. And the interesting part isn't just how much noise it made, it's how instantly split the reaction became. This wasn't a case of everyone nodding along together. Meghan's longtime supporters and her father's longtime defenders immediately read the exact same claim in totally opposite directions, each side treating it as proof of whatever they already believed going in. That split matters because it tells you plainly where this story actually sits. Nowhere near settled. There's no official confirmation attached to it, no legal filing, no direct word from Meghan herself. What we've got is a pile of second-hand media claims being run through wildly different interpretive lenses, depending on who's doing the interpreting. And that's precisely the kind of setup where rumour tends to outrun anything resembling verified truth. To make any real sense of why this keeps happening, you kind of have to zoom out and look at the whole relationship this is built on top of. Because Thomas Markle and Meghan have arguably one of the most publicly picked apart family fallouts of the last 10 years. Rewind back to before the 2018 wedding, and you'll find Thomas admitting he arranged paparazzi photos of himself ahead of the ceremony. A call he later said he wished he'd never made, and one that seems to have quietly detonated whatever relationship he still had with his daughter. He skipped the wedding entirely, citing recovery from a heart procedure, and from that point forward, by every public account available, direct contact between the two has been essentially non-existent. Meghan herself has spoken about the sting of that period, both in her sit-down with Oprah and in the Netflix docuseries she and Harry put out, describing finding out through tabloid coverage, not from her own father, that he wasn't going to be there to walk her down the aisle. Thomas, meanwhile, has kept doing something Meghan mostly hasn't, talking repeatedly to any camera that'll have him. That habit has earned him plenty of criticism from people who think family business belongs behind closed doors, and plenty of sympathy from people who just see an older, isolated father trying to be heard before it's too late. Across those interviews, he's swung between describing feeling completely cut off from his daughter's life and expressing love for her, along with a wish to finally meet grandchildren he's never laid eyes on. He's also opened up about health scares, including a stroke, and more than once has slapped the word final onto an interview, a label that, unsurprisingly, tends to reignite exactly this kind of media frenzy every time it gets used again. Which loops us right back to the headline of the week. Whatever this newly reported confession is supposedly saying, it isn't landing in a vacuum. It's dropping straight into years of tangled history, competing storylines, and feelings that never really got resolved. That backdrop is exactly why a single new claim can catch fire this fast. It's not some brand new plot twist out of nowhere. It's just the newest entry in a saga this audience has already been emotionally invested in for the better part of a decade. So what's actually being said about it out there? On one side, you've got people convinced this reported claim genuinely adds something new to the ongoing public story about Meghan's family, treating it as Thomas continuing his years-long effort to get his side of things on record. On the other side, you've got a chorus of "hold on a second," pointing out, fairly, that at this stage we're dealing with second-hand reporting, not a verified, independently confirmed, on-record statement. Neither camp is being unreasonable here. One's taking the coverage at face value given how consistently Thomas has gone to the press before. The other is applying the kind of skepticism that's genuinely earned once you notice how often claims like this get stretched, twisted or invented outright once they start bouncing between aggregator sites and reaction videos. And that second camp has a real point worth dwelling on, because this specific slice of celebrity and royal coverage has a long, well-established habit of letting drama sprint way ahead of anything resembling proof. Slap a word like confession, bombshell or final onto a thumbnail, and engagement practically takes care of itself, which gives outlets and creators every incentive to reach for the most explosive framing available, whether or not the actual sourcing underneath it can hold that weight. None of that automatically makes this specific report false. It just means the smart move for now is treating it as an unverified claim rather than settled fact, which, to be fair, is exactly what a decent chunk of the commentary out there is already doing. It's also worth flagging how effortlessly this kind of story gets absorbed into the much bigger, ongoing conversation surrounding the Sussexes as a whole. Anything touching Meghan's family gets instantly folded into the sprawling, ever-evolving narrative involving Harry, King Charles, and the rest of the royal family, because at this point, audiences treat all of it as one continuous storyline instead of a bunch of disconnected headlines. A development involving Thomas Markle doesn't stay contained to just him and his daughter. It gets dragged straight into bigger questions about where the Sussexes stand, how their relationships on every side of the family are holding up, and what might be coming next. That's a big part of why this thing travelled as far and as fast as it did. It's not some standalone headline, it's slotting neatly into a narrative engine that never really stops running. So, bottom line, where does that actually leave us? Right now, what we've got is this: a reported claim dressed up as a final confession, attributed to Thomas Markle, and generating a wave of commentary split along basically the same lines this family story has always split along. No verified transcript, no independently confirmed on-record statement beyond the original reporting. No response from Meghan or her team addressing this specific claim. What we've actually got is a story still developing in real time, with strong opinions attached on every side, and a solid reason for everyone to hold off before treating this as gospel. And honestly, that's basically the playbook for nearly every story involving this family at this point. A claim drops, it spreads fast because there's already a massive, emotionally invested audience primed and ready to react, opinions split almost instantly along the same old lines, and then everybody just waits to see if actual confirmation ever shows up. Sometimes it does. A lot of the time, it just quietly disappears into that enormous graveyard of royal claims that dominated headlines for a week and then were never really nailed down one way or the other. So here's what we want from you before we wrap tonight. Where do you actually land on this one? Do you think there's real weight behind this reported claim? Or does this feel like another story getting inflated way past what the sourcing can actually support? Sound off in the comments, and we genuinely mean this. We want disagreement down there, because the best conversations on this channel happen when people who see this differently are actually talking to each other instead of just past each other. And before you disappear on us, if you like that, we actually slowed down here. Instead of sprinting straight for the most dramatic version of this headline, do us a solid and hit subscribe on Sussex Champions if you haven't yet, and flip on notifications so you're not missing it the moment there's an actual update worth reporting. We're going to keep tracking this exact story as it moves, and we're going to keep doing it the same way every time, sorting out what's confirmed, flagging what's still pure speculation, and letting you make the final call yourself. Already subscribed? Drop a like, send this to whoever's been following the Thomas Markle saga since day one, and tell us down in the comments what part of this whole ongoing story you want us tackling next. Last thing before we go, somewhere out there, a headline writer is currently typing the words "final confession" for what feels like the 14th time this year. And honestly, we kind of respect the commitment to the bit at this point. Reported and confirmed are still two very different words, no matter how many thumbnails try to smush them together. Stay balanced, stay nosy in the best way, and we'll catch you in the next one. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. Royal Truth Desk.